Welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us. We're gonna wait just a couple minutes or two, but if you guys want to add in the chat where you guys are joining from, introduce yourself. We'd love to hear from you. We'll get started in just another 30 seconds. Dallas, Anne, good to have you. We've got Emmanuel from Dallas as well. San Francisco. Okay, we'll get you in the office next time. All right, let's get started. Well, again, thank you so much for joining us. I'm Allie. I'm our senior marketing manager here at Clarity. I'm based in San Francisco, joining from the office in FIDI, and we're really looking forward to having you. We're going to talk about what's new in Architect today. If anybody joined us at our San Francisco Summit a couple weeks ago, you guys got a little bit of a sneak peek on this, but we're so excited to meet everybody and share what we've been up to. We have Alex Bai from our product team here, going to walk us through some new features, and Emmanuel Awad, who recently just joined us to lead operational excellence. So I'm going to hand it over to them. They're going to dive into what we're up to. We've got some fun polls along the way, so please chime in, ask questions in the Q&A function in the chat, and we'll take some pauses throughout. But really excited to have you here, and let's get started.
All right. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us, and we're excited to have you here. So the breakdown for today's webinar is we'll run through the identity evolution of Architect. So you've given us a lot of feedback, and that has helped shape Architect's strategic identity now and in the future. We're going to cover some new features, spend about half an hour on that, talking about that, and then Alex will run through some live demos. Then we'll cover what's next. So the product roadmap over the next couple of quarters, and then we'll give you some time to tell us what's on your mind. So let's run through the strategic shift in the identity evolution of Architect from documentation to transformation first. And before we start, the word transformation is used quite a bit. If you're not familiar with the term, it can be defined as comprehensive reconfiguration of organizational capabilities to achieve strategic operational excellence. That's a lot of words and a lot of sometimes consultancy speaking, but at its core, to you, it likely means you want to become a championship level business, and you need to figure out how to combine efforts to get there, either by sparking an evolution or a revolution and change how your organizations are operating. And before we move forward and dive deeper into this, can you let us know in the poll, how easy is it for those of you who have started transformation initiatives to start on that journey? And we'll give you a second. Oh, wow. We have some superstars out here already transforming. We'll love to see that. Awesome.
Pretty nice normal distribution.
Yeah, I was just thinking that nice
insane.
normal Gaussian distribution. We know which stats tests to run on it. So that's awesome. Great. Okay. So we'll move forward and we'll talk a little bit more about the themes that we've uncovered as we've been evolving that identity, and we decided to focus on scaling transformation. We really honed in on 4 distinct themes, needs, and blind spots that a lot of people are facing. The first one was stability. As markets and customer needs have just changed and evolved over time and are just doing so at a faster pace, every business is facing entropy and unknowns that challenges your business stability and continuity. The second theme that we noticed was guided journeys. We need to respond and achieve value faster, but not everyone's in the same boat. And so we needed a way to figure out how to give you the ability to choose your own adventure and transform the way you want to transform. 3, strategic insights. This is something that I am super excited for, and you will hear the excitement in my voice, especially as we get to the live demo. But how do we get more strategic reps in do them faster, not only do them faster, but maintain a high degree of quality. And lastly,
Broadly, the user experience in the product. So we're always listening and focused on making the product better to use, easier, faster for you. You'll see some of those on the roadmap and the live demo later.
awesome. And so again, as we looked through this and understood why should we do this for you? Because exponential transformation creates exponential organizations. And we are excited to be able to bring that to people. But we still recognize that the goal of your transformation journey is to get value as fast as possible. And in order to achieve that ROI, you need to be able to design a future state and decide what you want to invest in. Before you do that, you have to understand what today looks like through documentation, gap analysis, data collection. And because that is so much effort, or at least it used to be, you needed to prioritize by having a company strategy, value stream strategy, strategic objectives, annual priorities. And even before that, you needed to understand what are the products and services that your company offers, not only externally, but offers internally to yourselves. And that's a ton of work. It's a lot of effort. It was a lot of complexity. So not everyone was doing it. And while we figured out how to cut this time down, we know that there's still challenges that you are facing when it comes to transformation.
Yes, before we continue, I want to pause again for another short poll. The question this time is, what are the most difficult things you face in your transformation initiatives? And this will be a single selection only.
I'm getting a little bit almost, we're getting close to like a slanted distribution, but still kind of normal.
Yeah, we randomly order these answers, so I'm not sure how this is happening.
So a lot of siloed data, poor system integration. That's very interesting. I mean, that's a lot of what I would generally see in transformation initiatives. It was always how do we centralize data from an end-to-end perspective?
Yeah, and if there are other options too that you don't see here, feel free to drop them in the chat. We'd love to hear.
Yeah, awesome. Let's keep moving forward. And so the transformation sentiment can be described by a lot of things. We talk to you a lot, we listen, as Alex mentioned. We've pulled commentary from what you've told us, what you are saying to each other, what leaders are saying, what everyone's feeling. And simply said, we know that we have to make transformation easier. And so we are going to focus on changing transformation needing skill and curiosity to simply needing the will and the curiosity. And that's a tall and complex task. I know it sounds too good to be true, but we're going to spend the rest of this time running you through what we are. And by we, I mostly mean Alex and the product team has already done, and we will continue doing to continue making this a reality. And so I'm going to dive into what you're all probably here for, the new features. I'll spend a little bit of time touching on the features that are in all of those themes that we just covered, and then Alex is going to take you through a live demo. I'll open again with another poll before we talk about business stability. And I want to ask you all, how confident are you that if someone were to unexpectedly win the lottery, how would your work continue and would your business remain stable? Almost again, a perfect normal distribution. It is nice seeing that there's confidence that things would proceed and continue forward. Because the last thing we wish for everyone is for you to have stumbles and not see success. And so The first thing that we're doing to address that business stability is to help you reduce the noise and the entropy that exists with the introduction of process hierarchies. So the ability to create a network of how all of your work connects together to operationalize end-to-end value streams and really get those insights into delivering products and services. The second piece is metadata. We've introduced the ability to capture quantifiable data on each detailed process, see the volumes, the times, also the owners, so that you could get information and magnitudes behind the feelings and find your biggest opportunities. And we all know when the business is stabilized, you get to spend less time keeping people and information and fragmentation together and more time thinking about strategic thinking. And to call back the poll response of fragmented data, right? This solves the problem of fragmented value stream data. Process hierarchies bring everything connected into one central location and allows you to look at something in its contribution to an entire whole. The next piece that we focus on, getting value on your terms. Architect has been designed and will continuously been designed to meet you where you are and bringing you what you need. So we've been introducing starter packs, guided strategy planning with insights, and having some preset playbooks that you can choose from. So if you don't know where to start, all good. We have pre-built process hierarchies for the most critical value streams that they're ready to adopt. And those are built off of 15 years of experience and extensive customer feedback that we've received from some of you on the call. Insights will also help you transform and give you the plays that almost everyone is tackling and dealing with now. But let's say you know exactly what you want and you need full control. That's all good too. The way Architect is built, you can hop in the driver's seat and drive transformation your way. Again, our goal is to help you accelerate your time to transformation value, not to force you to follow a specific framework. Let's talk about my favorite new feature, Insights. I'm not going to spend a bunch of time talking about it because the demo is way more impactful when you see it. But as I get ready to talk about this, we're bringing up another poll. This question is, how confident are you and your teams that you can quantify the value and the ROI from your transformation initiatives? And I know that this is generally one of the hardest things to do, getting full visibility or at least just understanding like the gamut of what you're going to get from the hours you're investing in, or maybe the cost for staff augmentation. And it's okay if you're at a 0 or a 1. We've all been there. And whoever answered 5, we need to get with them because we'll share that with everyone on the call. All right. So transformation before, the way that I've described it recently is it feels like you go to the doctor, you wait in the waiting room, and when you get to see them, you get a piece of paper before they even take any of your vitals and they say, "Hey, here's your plan for how you should get better." Insights takes that old way of transformation and turns it into strategic insights for you, by you. So this is strategy planning, transformation, improvement specialists built from your data to give you cross-functional and organizational strategy in minutes instead of months, providing you the ability to see where you need to invest, how to do it, and how to be confident in that decision and know what your ROI is going to be. Simply said, it's transformation for you, by you, and I can talk about this all day. I'm going to move to the next one so that Alex can show the demos sooner. And I'll let Alex talk about this piece.
Yeah, last thing we want to know here in terms of core product experience is, again, the relentless focus on making the product better every day for you. We have a screenshot here of some of the different things we've done here. So one is ability to edit your flow diagrams. So we use AI to generate a flow chart that maps out your process steps. We don't always get it right, and the feedback we heard is, well, I want a way to easily modify things, whether it's missing a node, adding a node, or even just changing the formatting a little bit. So that has not been possible for the past few months in the product. What you also see on the left-hand side is our AI editor feature. This is a very powerful Swiss Army knife feature that lets you modify your document on the fly using AI. So let's say we generate your process steps for your invoice processing process, and we give you 12, but you realize that you actually want 15, or let's say you are missing a couple screenshots. You can simply highlight the part of the document you want to change, prompt it to make that change for you, and we'll generate for you in 20 seconds. So these are just a couple of small examples of the ways that we're continually making the product better over time.
And the product team is very humble. I will just take a second and give them a super shout out because until about a month ago, I was a Clarity customer. And so I've seen them quickly respond and iterate to requests, enhancements, and fixes. Over the last quarter, they've done over 200 enhancement and fixes just based on feedback or just proactive assessment on things that we know customers will need. And so it's really cool to see it also on this side, working together to make those things possible. So let's show them all the great work that you've done. And I'll stop my share and you can take on over.
Sounds great. Let's do it. And do you mind muting yourself and I'll unmute myself?
Yeah.
All right, give me 1 second to pull up my screen share. And by the way, while I'm doing that, while we're going through the demo, feel free to drop questions in the Q&A or the chat anytime, and I'll take those as they come along. Oops, wrong screen. All right. So this is a sample workspace in Architect. I'll first walk you through some of the different key areas in the product, assuming that folks on the call may not have seen this before. And then we'll jump into some of the specific demos for the new features that Emmanuel's talked about. So this is an Architect workspace. The first page we're starting with is the Operations Hub. At its core, a Clarity operation is an AI analysis task. The most common one our customers use is to analyze their process and generate a process document. This can be an SOP, can be a business requirements document, it can be an automation assessment, which is a custom-built document that Clarity has provided that not only documents the process steps, but also provides an assessment of different steps in the process, which ones are manual, which ones have risk, and ways to automate that risk away. In addition to generating a document, we have a variety of other operations, and we're constantly adding more. Another one that we hear a lot of good feedback on is this compare documents. People often ask, I have different team members conducting the same process, or I have the same process that spans different geographies. I want to understand, are people complying with the actual process the way it's written up? Compare documentation is a great way to ask these questions. You can upload two documents. For example, one is the reference document for how this process should be done, and the other can be an instance of one of your employees conducting the process. And you compare the two and see any differences. If there are steps that are being skipped, if there are things that are easily forgotten, this is a great way to analyze variations, analyze where compliance may fall short. Last but not least, we have a couple others down here related to spreadsheets. So depending on the teams that we're working with, we often hear that people love working in spreadsheets. So one that we have here is you can enrich a spreadsheet with additional information. So for example, let's say you have your process steps already documented from previous efforts, and you have 15 rows in the spreadsheet, one per each step. However, maybe you're missing information about this process analysis. You want to understand what vendors are being used, how long each step takes, who owns each step, if there are often exceptions or variations that you want to capture. You can use, if you have these questions, you can use the spreadsheet analysis feature to upload your existing spreadsheet with those steps. Simply add additional columns that you want information on, and we'll fill those in for you in a couple minutes. So in addition to having the process steps, you will now get all these other analysis vectors that you may be interested in, but either don't know or don't have the time to compile. So that's the Operations Hub. This is your go-to like one-stop shop to look at all the different capabilities that are offered in Architect. Next, we'll jump to the library. I'm not going to spend too much time here. This is basically Google Drive or SharePoint built into Architect. It's an easy way to organize your work for different team members to collaborate and to upload files and document your processes along the way. The third place where we'll stop is the AI interviewer. I'm not going to demo this live on this call because this is a voice bot that will actually interview you about your process. And based on the way computer mics and audio systems work, I will hear the voice, but you will not, which will sound really weird. But basically what this is you enter a couple of simple data points about what process you want to talk about. For example, post journal entries. And then you share your screen because in addition to talking with the bot, we'll also capture screenshots of your key steps from your screen share. So that's a really important part of getting high quality documentation. And when you start the interview, the AI consultant bot will basically ask you questions using best practices about your process. Things like what's the starting point? What's the end point? What are some key objectives in documenting this process? What are the KPIs you evaluate this against? Walk me through your steps one at a time, and for each step, we'll dig into are there variations we want to note here so we don't forget. And once that's done, we'll process that video in a couple minutes and use that to generate a document based on what format you want. This is a great way to replace Zoom back and forth and Google Calendar back and forth. So instead of, getting 12 people on a call together and some people are on PTO, some people can't make it, they have to cancel last minute. If you have a sub-process or a process that's owned primarily by one person, you can simply have them talk to the interviewer, and the interviewer will ask a bunch of good questions, make sure we don't miss any details that we want to capture, and you'll get a great gold standard document out of that in a couple minutes. So that's the AI interviewer. Next, I will jump to one of the new features that we just talked about a few minutes ago, which is the process hierarchy. I see a hand raised. Do you want to drop your question in the Q&A or speak out? And I can pause here briefly. Okay, the question is, how do we send invites to interviewees? That's a great question. That's actually one of the key items on the product roadmap, which we'll get to in a couple minutes after this. But just to jump the gun a little bit, I'll spend a minute or two sharing how we plan to do this. One of the key new features we're planning to ship in Q2 or Q3 this year is called Architect Tasks. This is basically a workflow feature that will let you collaborate better as a team. So with tasks, the centralized transformation or operational excellence team, or the process owner or the exec of this process area can send out a request to a team member who owns this process, requesting them to document their work and to process that into a document in app. So as of today, we don't have this feature, so you would have to do this yourself. So let's say you're a transformation manager who wants the accounting team to document an XYZ process, you would send them an invite to Architect, ask them to jump on a Zoom call, or use the interviewer in the product to talk through the process, and then return the document to you. But we've heard the feedback a couple times now that we want a way to better scale this collection process. So we're going to work on a feature called Architect Tasks to help make this more scalable. Thanks for the question. Let me know if you have any follow-ups and just drop them in the chat, and I'll get to them when I see them. All right, so jumping ahead to the new feature, process hierarchy. Before I share and click through what this feature does, I'll share a bit of context on why we built this. So Architect started out a little less than a year ago with the core nugget that uh, current state capture is a very challenging problem today. As Emmanuel shared earlier, the light at the end of the tunnel, the ultimate objective is to transform a business to be more efficient, more lean, to be faster, less waste, whatever that objective might be. But in order to do that, you have to understand the current state. And in order to do that, you have to understand what your process map actually looks like today from an org standpoint. So we built Architect as on day one to turn video recordings and Zoom meeting recordings into high quality current state capture. Um, so that's been going great. A lot of users are using us for that. But then gradually started to get feedback that, hey, I'm efficiently turning my video meetings into current state capture, but now I have all these documents. I have dozens, hundreds of documents. And sure, it's more concise than having in people's heads or in knowledge silos or in meeting recordings on Zoom. But it's still a lot. These documents, we capture a lot of detail. We include screenshots, we include analysis sections too, like an assessment of risks and controls and whatnot. So they get to be, tens, 20s of pages, and it's still a lot to deal with. So that's why we built process hierarchy as a way to structure these, volumes of documents into a more condensed format. So instead of having to read through a 20-page document on order capture and tracking, you can you can organize and kind of scaffold all this process understanding into a very condensed tree. And we also generate attributes about each process using AI. So instead of having to click into a document and read the entire thing to understand what teams are involved here or what systems are used here, we'll capture that for you on the spot with a high-level glance. So you can see that, okay, order capture and tracking involves a finance team, it involves SAP as a key system that's used here. There's 75,000 orders per year, and on average, it takes 100 minutes to complete sorry, 100 hours, God forbid, to complete a cycle of this process. But the active work time is only 30 minutes. So that tells you something. That's saying that this process is not that complicated. Someone can do it in 30 minutes, and yet there's some, you know, handoff process among teams. Maybe it's a system triggering notification and people miss it. That's causing each cycle to take 100 hours, although the work only takes 30 minutes. So this is opportunity. And this process hierarchy is a way for you to see at a glance where the opportunities lie. As Emmanuel mentioned earlier, we understand that process hierarchies vary by company. There may be some similarities. Every company back office has some semblance of procurement or order management or how to collect money from your customers, but there are variations too. So what we're trying to do here is give you a balance of flexibility and good starting points. So as you can see here, you can create a new process however you want using whatever hierarchy and whatever structure your company likes to use. But at the same time, we're also working from a clarity standpoint to give you good starting points and templates and run books. So if you want to use our starting point, you can do that, and you can make changes after the fact. So I'll spend another minute or two talking about how to actually populate the process hierarchy. So the way the Architect product works is you run operations to use the AI to analyze your process and create documents and also generate these AI attributes along the way. When you feel like you have a document that is correct, high quality, that you think accurately reflects the work that's being done by your team, you can simply link that document to your process hierarchy in the right place. And that document basically provides the source material and the source content that goes into the hierarchy. So if we click into order capture and tracking, which is owned by our colleague Doug, we can see that, we'll give it a second to load. We can see that we have a short overview of the process. We can see that Doug is a process owner. We basically pass over all of the different attributes from the document into this process in your tree. And we can see that the source document is listed right here. So if you want to dig in more and understand what are the actual steps, what are the screen captures that were made here, when this was conducted, you can click into the source. And we provide traceability here. Cool. So that is process hierarchy. Are there any questions at this point? I'll pause here for a minute or two.
I did just answer one in the Q&A, but I think it would be good to I'll run through it live as well. Vicky asked how it captures the attributes. Is it strictly through the interview answers or does it cross-check in the system, the team that performs the task? And I responded, it uses the interview answers or the video recording. So if you upload a video to do that, it will use the documentation. But the attributes are editable. So treat this as an estimate for the process performer to sign off on. And what I've found over my career is it's easier for someone to look at something and say yes or no than it is to give them a blank sheet of paper. And so going in with something and saying, hey, based on the recording or based on what we've seen, it looks like it takes you a couple of hours to do this. I think it's generally a lot easier for the person who owns it to jump in and say, well, no, it needs to be updated here.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. And I'll add a little bit more color here too. We do capture the attributes from the input content that you provide. We explicitly don't have integrations. We started out deciding not to include integrations, mostly for InfoSec and security reasons, because we understand that there's a lot of scrutiny around AI tools. A lot of them are very new to the market. You're passing very sensitive business data into these large language models. The beauty of Architect is it's very low integration because you provide the content. And the key insight here is that these video is a super rich format to encode data. You have your mouse movements on the screen, you have your screen share. You can jump between different systems. If you have a very complex process that jumps between Salesforce, Coupa, Zoom, Slack, Excel, whatever it may be, it's very hard for any single like desktop bot to capture that movement. But on a screen share, we can see everything that's happening, or at least Architect can see everything that's happening. And also based on the words you're saying, if you say, hey, in this Salesforce report, we often see this field is missed by the sales team when they're recording this lead. And this is important to capture because of XYZ. And if we don't have this, then we have to go back to them. And that takes an extra one or two repetitions that add another day. These are all super rich content that you can share. And we will use that provided together with the architect's intelligence to estimate these attributes. In the future, we are considering integrations. Integrations would be another data source to triangulate what these attribute values should be. But I think the question touches upon a really important point, which is that a lot of these values are not fully known. Like they're just estimates that we're trying our best to triangulate. And we've built these AI attributes in a way to reflect that and to basically reflect the humility that we might not know it all. So we will provide a starting point. You can override the values anytime you want. So if we say, going back to that order management tracking, that this is 100 hours, and you're like, there's no way it's that long. It's 24 hours max. You can override that, and that's very easy to do. At the same time, we will capture the original value, so you can always reset back to that original AI recommended value. And the last thing I'll mention on attributes is that the beauty of the process hierarchy is it provides structure and relationships among your processes. So you can see that order management tracking is a sub-process of, for example, the overall order management process. And Architect will also do the math to roll up values between sub-processes and parent processes. So if we see that order management has 5 sub-processes that take 24 hours each, we'll recognize that in theory, order management should take 5 days just based on adding up those 24 hours times 5. And if you're saying that, no, actually it's much more than 5 days, it's 20 days, well, that provides insight too. Maybe that means that there's other work that's being done that's not properly encoded here, or that, maybe the cycle time is longer than 24 hours, even if we think it is. And that starts a conversation. So, yeah, so love the question. A key thing we're very mindful of is that these are all estimates, and we're really just trying to triangulate to get to the truth. But we built this in a way to be very flexible to account for error bars and account for changes over time, and you can easily override these values. All right, love the question. Anything else? I'm not seeing anything in the Q&A or the chat right now. And if not, I can keep going with the next part of the demo. Okay, see another question from John Lee. Can the process hierarchy overview be exported into CSV/Excel format? Great question. So when I read the first part, I was actually thinking you were asking about import, which is a feature we just built a couple days ago. So that feature will let you import a CSV to create the hierarchy if you already have one that you're using today. In terms of whether it can be exported, we don't have that today. That can be built pretty easily. We've designed Architect to be very, to fit into your existing workflows. So from day one, any document you create with AI can be exported. The documents are purely Word documents, so you can download that into docx format and then share that with the team. You can also invite team members to Architect to collaborate inside the tool. So you can track changes, view version history within the app. Uh, in Q3, Q4 of this year on our roadmap, we want to build a lot more collaboration features. So things like uh, review workflows. So if the process owner generates this documentation, they can invite their manager or a team member to review and approve the process. We want to build in recurring notifications. We understand that processes change over time. It's just a natural course of how businesses work. So we are going to build recurring notifications to ping the process owner to remind them every 6 months or every 9 months, whatever cadence you want, really, to review and make sure that this documentation is still accurate. And if not, to record a short video snippet or make some changes to keep it up to date. So again, from day one, we built this to be to fit seamlessly with your workflows. Documents can be exported. Any input file you upload can be exported. And we don't have that for the hierarchy today since we just built it a few weeks ago, but that can be in scope as well. All right, I have an anonymous question here. When we're testing Architect, we were experiencing issues with stitching together multiple videos to produce one document. Instead of creating one document, it created a separate doc for each video. Has that issue been resolved? I'm gonna mark that answer live. Great question. So we're just on the precipice of releasing a new feature called Document Update that will allow you to stitch together multiple videos or other file types, Excel spreadsheets, Word documents, PDFs, to update a document to create a V2 that will have existing document plus the changes from the new information that's provided with versioning as well. So that is being worked on as we speak. It should be released this week. In addition to that, what I can also share in terms of stitching together multiple content into one artifact is we also have pretty generous input file allowances. So I believe the current limit is you can add 4 videos of up to 4 hours max video length, which from feedback we've heard should be enough to cover most Zoom meetings that people have in a team, especially if you kind of scope the process to be a granular enough sub-process with a bounded start and endpoint. So we allow 4 hours of video total, along with 5 additional non-video files of up to, I believe it's 20 megabytes each. So these can be pretty big spreadsheets or PDFs or Word documents. So we have pretty generous input file allowances that you can dump multiple things together to create one document. That is live today. It's been live for the past few months. And in addition, after this week or next week, we'll have this new feature that lets you update any document using AI with new content. So if you realize that this process has changed and you have a team member who records a 10-minute video snippet describing the things that have changed, you can upload that into Architect, run that together with your existing document, generate a V2 or a V3, and easily compare and contrast the changes and save that as your new de facto process document. Cool. Thank you for all the questions. Loving these questions. Feel free to drop more in the Q&A. Since I'm not seeing anything else right now, I will jump ahead and continue with the demo with insights.
My favorite.
All right, so what you're seeing now is interface for insights. Think of insights as a very detailed, very deep researching AI assistant that has context and knowledge of everything that's in your workspace. So the beauty of this feature is that it gets more powerful as you use the product more. What you can see here is that we have 124 processes in scope. This is, again, a demo workspace that we use internally. We're actually dogfooding it and using Architect to document our own internal processes and operations. So we had 124 so far. When you ask a query with the Insights feature, you can choose whether to uh, keep all of your processes in your workspace in scope, and this can really get to dozens or hundreds over time as you ramp up your usage. Or if you want, you can choose to scope the question to a specific subset of your processes. So if you want to focus on order management or processes related to the accounting team, you can you can select and unselect with these processes. And when you do that, the AI engine will focus its attention only on the processes that you want it to focus on. So what do you use Insights for today? We have a couple starter questions to kind of get the creative juices flowing, but you can really ask any sorts of questions. From our feedback so far from early adopters, we've seen that people like to ask questions about cost and duplicate work. So things like, if you open this, where are the most common rework loops across our core value chains? what would be the compounding cost savings of eliminating them? We often find that there's excessive handoffs between different teams for the same process. There might be efficiency tools that we're using to make our processes faster and lower cost, but we're only using them in some parts of the org, but not in other parts. And we could expand usage of these existing vendors at no cost to us to get these gains elsewhere. We often see questions about so Clarity as a company started off with finance and accounting as our core domains. So we have a lot of customers in these areas. They often ask about, hey, how can I help me analyze my financial processes so I can understand how to accelerate days to close? That's a very commonly asked question as well. So you can see that this tool is quite flexible. You can ask about cost, you can ask about simulations and strategic planning looking forward. You can focus on risk and compliance or ways to adopt more automation into your existing workflows. So if we don't have any questions from the chat, I'll just pick one of these to start with. So um, let's start with this one. Which automated workflows have built-in capacity limitations that will create bottlenecks as our transaction volumes grow? So you can use this as a starting point. You can modify if you want. You can select and unselect different processes. I'm not going to go through all of these because a lot of these are internal Clarity processes that are probably not familiar to you. So let's just keep it focused on all processes at a time. And you click Run. This does a lot of analysis, so it'll take a couple minutes. But the cool thing is, as it's thinking and analyzing, you'll see the thought process along the way. So it'll tell you different parts of your workspace that it's looking into. It'll tell you what's standing out and where it's focusing its attentions. The other thing I'll mention as it's working is that in addition to being able to guide and scope the question, it for specific processes in your workspace. It also has knowledge about everything else you've saved in your library. So any documents you've created, any inputs you've uploaded as well, actually. So even things like video transcripts and screenshots, they will also have bearing in the analysis that's being produced. So we'll see that we have a lot of internal QC processes for our high volume document automation product, Automate. So it's looking at the QC bot. It's looking into, looks like a Slack notification, actually. This might be one that we use in Slack that was mentioned in a video recording somewhere. I actually don't have detailed knowledge on these, but the beauty is I don't need to because that's different colleagues of mine across different teams do know these things really well. They've encoded their understanding into Architect, and now this Insights bot is now kind of leaning on their domain expertise to create a report for me, even if I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, and if you think of this, this is why I get so excited about this, because just the act of looking at everything that exists in your current state, stitching it together, understanding what the strategic objective is, and then diving into the breakdowns that are preventing you from achieving that type of championship. It takes what, 2 to 3 months sometimes, and you need to hire extra people because it's something that you can't just do at the side of your desk. And Insights is doing this for you. Again, as long as you have the will and you're willing to record and have the curiosity to ask the question, you will be able to get the plan to execute and know what you need to do and have high degree of confidence that that answer is correct before you invest your time in it.
Yeah, absolutely. Something I also mentioned for if we have any current users on this call is that Insights does have to be enabled for your workspace. It is available at no extra cost to you, but we do have to do a one-time setup process. So if you have not had this enabled for your workspace yet, when you click on the Insights feature, instead of seeing the actual landing page with the text box for you to ask, you'll see a separate kind of diagram that I think the CT will be to reach out to your CSM and we'll do a short onboarding call since there is some complexity to this. We want to make sure we enable you to use it and to make the most use of it. So you will see that if you have not had it set up for your workspace yet. Cool. So seeing one more question from the chat, could you elaborate more on the information/knowledge base that you use to train this AI model? How are you keeping this model updated with the latest finance ops knowledge? Okay, great question. So I see it's done, but I'll take the question first. So one thing I want to stress is from a data security standpoint, we don't do any model training. So the guarantees that we provide are we do not train on your data. We do not, your data does not even leave your workspace. So an architect workspace to us is like a bounding box that no data comes in or out. This is even true if your company uses multiple architect workspaces. We don't see this often, but there's a couple customers for whom they might have sensitive HR or employee data, and they've provisioned access for a separate workspace for a subset of the HR team. So if that were the case for you and you have a general workspace and also an HR workspace, we actually will not be able to see data across the two. From our standpoint, it looks as good as if it's two separate customers. So we don't do any model training. Your data is bounded by workspace. We've also negotiated with our LLM providers, all the main ones, Anthropic with Claude, ChatGPT with OpenAI, and Gemini with Google, that they also will not retain any of your data that we send them for processing for their training. So that's number one. So given that, I understand your second question is how are you keeping this model updated with the latest finance ops knowledge? So the beauty of these large language models is that they're so flexible. They've been trained on pretty much the entire internet, and the great thing for us is that if you're working with, in an enterprise context with very common vendors like Salesforce, like Coupa, like Zoom, these tools have been around for so long that they have very extensive content on them about them on the internet about the different modules, about user questions in their knowledge forums, in their help centers. So there's general knowledge encoded in these large language models just from their training um, before they were released, and we benefit from all that knowledge. So if you ask about, how do we what automated workflows have built-in capacity limitations that create bottlenecks, if we see from your workspace data that you use Salesforce and there's some automations, but there's also some very manual steps. The great thing is Salesforce has been around for 20 years, and there's ample knowledge about them from the large language models, from their training sets. So it will recognize like, hey, you're using this module, but you're not using this. I have knowledge about this because it's in many help center documents and many enablement documents and webinars that have been hosted by Salesforce. And that's how it has this general understanding of what to recommend and what's available in the world.
Yeah. Well, in addition to that, there's a lot that goes into how we ask the question. And so, with having a massive information available to us, there's also the act of us figuring out, and I've been in the OE space for about 15 years. I've run strategy planning. I've been a process engineer. I've managed process engineering teams. And so there's the element of how would I ask this question or explain it to someone who has never seen it before? And so we do a lot of iteration with how we ask the question to ensure that we're getting to the most correct answer. And like Alex said earlier, we know that we're not always going to be perfect, but at least taking it to a point where someone can take it and have an easy time running with the ball, or coming back and saying, no, I see enough that I realize we need to change or tweak this. And so there are a lot of layers to that, but yeah, just know that again, our focus is always on getting you to your value with what you need to do and ensuring that the answer is correct so you have the confidence once you start running that you don't have to backtrack.
Yeah, totally. With that said, thank you for all the questions. Let's jump ahead and look at the actual report that was generated. So this is a detailed report. It'll start off with an exec summary. So if we look here, it's saying that it's identified three current largely hands-free workflows that are currently fine, that are at risk of turning to throughput bottlenecks because there's fixed daily cycles, preset sample minimums, external service cores that do not exhaustively scale. So it looks like these three are the ones that were pulled out. Candidly, I am not too familiar with these, but again, that's the great thing about insights is it's a way for you to understand your business, understand transformation opportunities, and I guess in this case, for me personally, to learn about different parts of how the business work. So it's, training guide right here. Um, so it starts off really broad with the key takeaways. And the great thing is it'll get more and more detailed along the way. So we have, looks like it's highlighting the actual limits for each of these workflows. This batch job runs once per day. this Google Sheets API quota. So we did not tell it about API quotas, or at least I did not, but it seems to know based on probably Google Sheets documentation that there's a limit of 100 writes per second per user. Seems pretty high, but again, the question we're asking here is at some point this will break. We'll start hitting rate limits. I don't know if we're handling those errors. I don't know if the end users are the same people who've set up this pipeline, and they very likely are not because this was set up a long time ago. So what will they see when this breaks? We're not sure, but this is a good way to preempt these types of issues popping up. It'll provide recommendations. So it looks like it's prioritized a couple P1s, two P2s and one P3. Looks like it wants to use asynchronous queues with parallel reviewers. Also, apologies for the folks in the audience. Looks like this is a pretty technical workflow. It's talking about queues and Google Sheets rate limits. Maybe not the best example, but again, that's what it surfaced based on the question we asked. It has a couple quantitative estimates. So Google Sheets hard row limit is 10 million cells, 125K docs, and this usable volume is near 2,000 rows today. So the great thing here is that because we have those quantitative AI generated attributes from the process hierarchy, it's able to inspect those and then do some intelligent math to figure out how much time it's taken, how much volume is at stake here, what kind of numbers we're talking about. These may not be right, but again, these are like ballparks for you to get started with. And if they're not right, you can also go back to the hierarchy and edit those values to be more correct. Cool. So this is the report. We get some follow-up questions below. You can download this. Again, everything is meant to be working seamlessly with your existing workflows. Not trying to gatekeep any of its content to architects. You can download this and share with your colleagues if you want. And yeah, that is insights. So we're getting a bit low on time, so I'm gonna stop my screen share, turn it back over to Manuel, and then we'll talk about roadmap and then Q&A for the last few minutes.
Awesome.
Do you want to unmute yourself also?
Yes.
Also, thank you for the audience member for the DM call out. I realized that I think only one face shows up based on whose mic is unmuted, so we may have had some disembodied voices
Oh,
from
no.
earlier, and then now with Emmanuel talking when I'm screen sharing. So thank you for that call out. We're sitting next to each other.
Yep, yep. All right. Mute and go. So we'll kick off or wrap up with what you can expect from the product roadmap. I'll run through this fairly quickly, but this is a small snippet also. There are a lot of things that are in the pipeline and not enough time to go through all of them. But just know that over the next couple of quarters, we're focusing on enabling you to transform faster. So those pre-built value streams and process hierarchies, well, we've already built a couple of these and we're continuing with those most critical value streams. Then we'll continue on simplifying your journey by creating better experiences. So more guided transformation playbooks, role-based access control, essentially like a strategy plan that you can do in rapid cycles. Then in Q4, we'll focus on allowing you to analyze processes the way you want to. Again, there's no one size fits all, especially when you get down to the nitty-gritty details. So we're introducing features that not only speed up your detailed documentation and analysis, but put more of the choice and power back in your hands. And then finally, we really want to simplify that collaboration. We want to keep it fun, and we're going to launch features that enable you to keep it fun and maximize the time you spend together. And like I said, way more on the roadmap. If you want to know more, make sure you sign up for a call. Have an intro call. We'll walk you through and understand a little bit more about what is the problem you're facing or what are your organizational goals.
Yeah, and I'll just add briefly here on the roadmap too. Again, this is just a snippet. There's many, many things that we want to build. Not enough time in the world to build them. The way we think about roadmap and what to prioritize is really we really focus on the journey that our users, like you guys, take in your work. So going back to that slide in the very beginning that Manuel showed about we have these business objectives, we have understanding of our value streams, then we capture current state, then we understand the gap analysis, and that's what brings us to the transformation that brings us to a better outcome. And we're basically shipping along every step of that journey. From step one, how do we generate higher quality documents? How do we make sure that the transcription and the analysis of the process is, as high quality and reflects your day-to-day and reflects the actual work that you're doing? How do we make these documents delightful, high quality, easy to read? How do we intake your content faster? So we have a couple of things on the roadmap where the integrations with Zoom and Teams and other video conferencing software. So instead of making sure, oh, did we record that meeting? Oh no, we didn't. Oh shoot, we have to like we don't have the content. We have to go do it again. We're gonna build a way for you to pull that data from Zoom or Teams into the app so you can analyze it more easily. From that all the way to document quality, to giving you process flow diagrams that are really high quality, easy to edit, to giving you higher quality insights, to giving you improvements with hierarchy, so you can easily tie all your documents to that scaffold, to the tree that reflects your org. And then, along with collaboration workflows. So once you've analyzed your process, that's not where things end. You want to make sure you're reminded of it every 6 months to keep things up to date. You might want to loop in team members or your manager to make sure that they're reviewing and signing off on things before they enter the repository. So really, we're shipping along the entire journey. And if you have any feedback, we're all ears, love to hear them.
Awesome. I'm just going to keep you right in here so we can talk together. We'll open it up for a quick Q&A. I know we're almost at the end of time, but also a reminder that we have the New York City Summit, the AI Summit. Some of you may have been at the San Francisco Summit. It was a great time. I think we got to spend a lot of just in-depth conversations with people trying to accomplish the same thing, transforming, getting value, quality value fast. So make sure you sign up and you join us for that. And I am looking in the chat to see what we have. No Q&A, I don't think. Any questions out there? Does everyone feel like they are now supercharged to go transform the world? We have a hand raise. All right. Do you want to drop your question in? Maybe it was an accidental hand raise. And also feel free to reach out to us, schedule some meeting time. Like clearly we're very passionate about this and have some thoughts and ideas of the direction it should go, but the end customer is ultimately you. And so we want to make sure the product that we build and so the journey that we enable matches the outcome that you're trying to accomplish. So with that, I guess we will wrap it up. Thank you.
Thanks so much, everyone. Ali, anything you want to wrap up with? Or are we all set?
I think we're all set. Thank you all for joining us. We'll follow up with this recording if you want to review it or share it out with your team. And then again, we'll drop a link to book a demo to chat more with our team and an expert, as well as joining our New York Summit. So thank you all again. Hope to see you soon.